What's the perfect murder weapon? A knife leaves a print, a gun leaves a shell, but Albert Walker's weapon was genius, the entire Atlantic Ocean. Dump a body 6 miles out. In a rarely fished trench known as the Roughs, and the sea does the rest, it should have been the ultimate disappearing act, a man erased. But in July 1996, a fishing trawler made a catch that would unravel a web of lies spanning 3 countries, a body, perfectly preserved, a watch that wouldn't stop telling time, and a single bizarre clue that would expose an international conman living a double life in plain sight. He stole his victim's life, then he made one mistake. At 5 a.m. off the Devon coast, to fishermen haul in a net heavy with an impossible catch, a well-dressed man, shoes still on, no ID, pockets turned inside out. The police assume a tragic accident a sailor lost overboard, but 3 details don't fit. 1. A Rolex oyster, a watch so robust it kept ticking on the seabed, preserving its final date. 2. A strange, smudged tattoo was at a cluster of stars, a symbol. 3. That head wound. Was it from the net, or from something else before he hit the water? The Rolex serial number was the first thread to pull. It led police to a jeweller in Yorkshire and a name, Ronald Joseph Platt. A quiet man. A dreamer who wanted to move to Canada. And when police tracked down his landlord, they were given the name of Ron's personal referee, his friend and financial backer, a man named David Davis. David Davis was the perfect witness. Charming, cooperative, expensively casual, he explained he'd loaned Ron money to start a business in France. He even identified the tattoo as a Canadian maple leaf. Case closed, a tragic accident. Until a simple paperwork request went catastrophically wrong for Davis, a detective sent to get Davis to sign a form goes to the wrong farmhouse. The neighbors are clear, the man living next door isn't named David Davis, they know him as Ronald Platt, the dead man in that moment. The case explodes, the charming helper was the prime suspect. David Davis had been living for years as the very man he claimed was dead in France. He hadn't just known Ronald Platt, he had become him. The police weren't looking for a killer. They were looking for a ghost who stole identities. Who was this man? The investigation revealed a spider's web. He was David Davis, the generous businessman who befriended Ron Platt and his girlfriend Elaine, setting them up as directors of his fake Cavendish Corporation. He sold them the dream of a new life, even paying for their one-way tickets to Canada, and once they were gone, he seamlessly stepped into Ron's life, becoming Ron Platt, moving to Devon with a much younger wife. He joined a church, took up marriage counseling, played tennis, he built a flawless cover story, but the evidence was closing in. His yacht, the Lady Jane, held forensic secrets, Ron Platt's hair and blood, and an anchor bought from a local shoppits. Receipt found in Davis's house. His fingerprint on the bag was a perfect match for bruises on the victim's leg. This was no accident. Ron was knocked out, anchored, and thrown overboard. Then, the bombshell, fingerprints sent to Interpol revealed David Davis was really Albert Walker, a fugitive wanted for embezzling over $3 million in Canada. He'd been on the run for 6 years, and the young wife living with him, that was his own daughter, Sheena. Brainwashed, living as his spouse to complete the disguise, the motive became crystal clear. The real Ronald Platt had returned from Canada to England. To Ron Platt couldn't exist. Walker's perfect stolen identity was about to be exposed. Ron Platt wasn't just murdered, he was erased out of sheer, cold necessity. At trial, Walker was arrogantly confident. But the evidence was undeniable. The watch, the anchor, the GPS data placing his boat at sea in a storm on the day Ron died. His own daughter, freed from his influence, could give him no alibi. The charming Conman's final performance failed. The jury took just 2 hours to convict him of murder. Albert Walker's plan was nearly perfect, but his luck ran out on for impossible twists of fate: a self-winding Rolex that acted as a deep-sea stopwatch, an anchor bought as a murder weapon caught in the same net as the body, a police officer knocking on the wrong door, and a fishing trawler deciding to dredge the roughs. A spot they rarely fished just days after the murder. He thought the ocean would hide his sin forever. Instead, it gave up its secrets. Albert Walker is serving a life sentence, a man who stole millions, stole identities, and finally stole a life all because he believed he was smarter than everyone else. But in the end, the sea and a watch he couldn't control told the truth he tried so desperately to drown. Thanks for watching.